A man sat down at a restaurant table. He looked around and noticed that all the other customers were staring at him. Why? Because he was eating from a broken plate. Some people even started laughing at him. The man didn't seem to mind though. You see, he had been through so much worse. Every night after dinner, when the stars twinkled in the sky, he would sit with Rose and study by candlelight. Years passed. Ben grew older and became a successful man. Yet he never forgot his roots. Whenever he saw someone struggling, he would try to help them. She was now quite old, but seeing Ben, she immediately perked up. He could still make a difference in the world by teaching underprivileged kids. Feeling inspired, Ben visited his school. He gathered all the children and said, "From today onwards, I will teach you." He kept busy with his students and cherished every moment. He understood that true happiness lay in the little things, in the smiles of his students and the warmth of human connection. The students were surprised, but they happily accepted Ben's offer. It was from a young boy who had graduated from the school. "I want to tell you that your father was a great man. He might be gone, but his legacy lives on. You can survive without money, but you can't survive without dignity." A poor old woman was sitting on a park bench. People passing by often stopped to stare at her. They couldn't understand why she always seemed so calm and peaceful. One day, a young woman sat down next to the old woman and asked her the secret to her serenity. The old woman's response surprised her. "Knowledge shared is never wasted. A true teacher never stops teaching. A small act of kindness can create ripples of impact that last a lifetime." As Thomas spoke, he could hear the pride and gratitude in Ben's son's voice. Both men knew that Benny's spirit lived on in the hearts of those he had taught and in the countless lives he had touched. "Dear Thomas, I am writing to tell you that I have become an engineer, all thanks to the school you built. I am sending you this book. I wrote it in honor of Mr. Ben, our beloved teacher. He taught me that even with a broken plate, one can lead a dignified life." Thomas opened the book. As he flipped through the pages, he saw beautiful pictures of Mr. Ben with his students. Each page had a story of a child whose life Mr. Ben had touched. His face turned pale and he collapsed. His students were deeply saddened when they heard that their beloved teacher had passed away. He built a beautiful school in memory of Ben. It became a place where underprivileged children could receive a quality education. Thomas also ensured that Ben's legacy lived on. He told everyone about the incredible man with the broken plate who had taught him, and many others that no matter what life throws at you, you should never give up. They gathered at his funeral, each holding a white rose. They placed the roses on Ben's coffin as a final goodbye. Come in, my boy. I haven't seen you in ages." Rose welcomed him warmly. As they sipped tea, Ben poured out his heart to her. "Rose, I feel like my life is over. What's the point of living like this? I can't work. I can't take care of my family. I feel useless." Rose listened patiently. Then, after a while, she spoke. "You are wrong, Ben. Your life is not over. You just need to find a new purpose." Ben shook his head. "But how can I possibly do that? I am disabled." Rose smiled knowingly. "You're forgetting something, Ben." Confused, Ben asked, "What do you mean?" "You are a teacher," Rose said gently. "You may not be able to work in your field anymore, but you can teach children who can't read and write. Think about it. We started your education when you were just a little boy. Who knows? Maybe one day one of your students will become a great scientist or an inventor. And it all began with me showing you the letters of the alphabet." One day, he decided to open a school for poor children. He wanted to give back to society and help others achieve their dreams. Despite his physical limitations, he had found joy in teaching. Every day he would go to school and share his knowledge with eager young minds. His students loved him dearly. They would call him their superhero teacher. One day, one of Ben's former students visited him. He was now a successful engineer, all thanks to Ben's teachings. "My dear teacher, I want to build a statue in your honor. You gave me hope when I had none. You showed me that even with a broken arm, one can achieve anything." Ben smiled and replied, "My boy, you misunderstand. I was the one who benefited. You see, when I lost the use of my arm, I thought my life was over. But then I realized I still had something valuable to contribute. That's why I started teaching you children. In fact, it was the best decision I ever made. Seeing your innocent faces every day, hearing your laughter, made me feel alive again. You brought sunshine into my life, my dear boy. So it was me who gained something from you students. No, I don't need a statue. Instead, visit me often and keep smiling, my boy." He knew there was no reason to be ashamed of his simple plate. In fact, he was grateful for it. The man's name was Ben. He had lived a hard life. When he was young, he grew up poor, but despite his situation, he always tried to see the good things in life. He said to himself, "I may not have much, but I'm alive." One day, an opportunity came along. A kind woman named Rose offered to take Ben under her wing. She would teach him how to read and write. At first, Ben was skeptical. He didn't think learning would do much to change his life, but something about Rose's kindness made him agree. Ben turned out to be a very smart student. He learned quickly. One afternoon, Ben was walking home from the market. It was raining heavily, and suddenly, lightning struck the tree right next to him. Ben fell to the ground and hit his head. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in a hospital bed. They were so happy he had survived the accident. Ben managed a weak smile and told them, "It's all right, my love. I'll get better." But deep down, he felt despair. How could he run his school or even take care of his family if he couldn't use his arm? Ben struggled to accept his new reality. Days turned into weeks and still he felt hopeless. A doctor approached him and said, "You're lucky to be alive. The lightning bolt passed through your arm. I'm afraid it's shattered." Ben looked down at his bandaged arm and then at the doctor. "Will I ever be able to use my hand again?" The doctor shook his head sadly. "I'm sorry, but the bone has been completely severed. You will never be able to use your arm again." When Ben returned home, his wife and children rushed to greet him. Then one morning, Ben decided to visit his friend Rose. At that moment, Ben realized Rose was right. Just because he couldn't do something didn't mean he had to give up entirely. Now, years have passed since the fateful day. Ben was well into his old age. As the years rolled on, Ben continued to live a simple life. One day, Ben wasn't feeling well. He felt a terrible pain in his chest. After Ben's death, one of his students, Thomas, decided to fulfill his teacher's wish. Years went by. Thomas grew old, yet he remained committed to Ben's mission. One day, Thomas received a letter. Touched by the book, Thomas picked up the phone. He dialed a number. On the other end was Ben's son. "Hello, sir. Dignity isn't about what you have, but how you see it." If you like this story, you might also like another story, The Power of Kindness.